Black home ownership matters. Home ownership matters, but black home ownership in our community really matters.
I believe that Nareb's goal overall, we're 70-year-old as of yesterday, but overall, when we celebrate our 100th anniversary, we want to see the rate of home ownership go from 40% or 42.7% rate to a 70.7% rate of home ownership.
But when it comes to black issues, this is the only organization that speaks specifically to the issues and things that have to deal with our community specifically.
To build wealth in our community, because that's the end game.
You continue to carry the torch on the 2.5 million.
Why what you do is so important. You all know the impact of home ownership in this country.
Fitz, talk about what we stand for. Talk about our code. And what's our code? Democracy and housing. What's our code? Family. What's our code? God. Faith-based. What's our code? I believe that I can make this happen. What's our code? I work for success.
With the create year of this program is that this program positions Nareb to be the change agents in the African American community.
If 90% of our wealth is tied to home ownership, then what better group to talk about African American wealth than Nareb?
But so this organization fights for democracy and housing with regard to regulation, policy.
Nareb defines its purpose in its constitution. And it's one sentence, and it says, to enhance the economic improvement of its members.
In 1862, Congress passed the Homestead Act. The Homestead Act was responsible for over 270 million acres given to the people as a part of a policy to encourage Western settlement. So what the government did was in effect give away land for free. That Homestead Act, I would submit to you, is underneath the wealth of many white families in America today. A tremendous gift by the United States. Now, there was a companion effort. That was the 40 acres and a mule initiative. What happened along the way is that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and his place was taken by President Andrew Johnson. Reversed the Lincoln administration's commitments and in effect repealed these initiatives, and 40 acres and a mule never became a reality.
The heroes and heroines were the homeowners who made every conceivable sacrifice imaginable to hold on to their homes and continue to pursue the American dream.
All of these involved a commitment by the United States with money and dollars and people and infrastructure to build wealth in this country. The Federal Reserve Act of the early 1900s, what did it do? It said to the banks, if you follow my rules, I will lend you money at 1%, 2%, or 3%. And you know what you can do? You can mark it up.
And post-Katrina was that at the time of the storm, there were 5 generations that have lived in New Orleans. This is the oldest inhabited place in America. It's also the place where black people were free before they were enslaved. Yet at the point of the storm, African Americans had 3 generations of home ownership, and white Americans had 5 generations of home ownership.
My dad is out in the yard at age 95, cutting his grass and trimming. So why? He owns it. It belongs to him. Now, he's not rich, didn't have a great education, but he worked hard. All his children graduated from college, 2 of them with PhDs. And so he understood what he was doing. He was bringing us to a point of middle classness.
Difference between 3 generations and 5 generations. At the 3 generations, we're at an inflection point. It takes 3 generations to build legacy wealth and only 1 to lose it.
If we're going to change it, we got to change attitude. And we've got to become secure in ourselves so that we can help other folk become secure. African Americans have got to know that there are some people who make their living on planning for us to always be divided.
Fit. Man, I'm proud of who I am. And I think we suffer organizationally, civically, individually, family from low self-esteem.
And so what you do every day is important. In fact, you may be the key to our survival. The things you do every day, selling people home, fighting and challenging, even in your work, people trying to keep people out of certain areas simply because of the stupidity they have conjured to judge people on the basis of their skin color.
The problem is the dollar in the other folk community, I'm told, turns over 10 times before it leaves. The dollar in the other folk community turns over 7 times before it leaves. But the dollar in our community leans and leaves.
He said it's just unbelievable. Now, and all of the white people had white agents. All the white people, and half the black people had white agents. How are we going to make it? How are we going to, nothing against y'all, nothing against anybody else, but if I don't support who looks like me, how are we going to make it? What my kids going to do?
My father had 3 jobs. Now I know why. So my struggle wouldn't be as hard. And I'm hoping the same for my children. So I have to fight the fight for home ownership. When someone tells me that home ownership for African American or black people is declining, I'm frightened. Because I have 2 children. I have grandbabies. I cannot expect that to decline because I would like it to be easier for them.
African American non-homeowners, the average net worth is $2,000.
Home ownership changes the way that neighborhoods thrive. And we need programs designed to increase home ownership because what's happening is outside investors are coming into our low to moderate income price neighborhoods, buying the properties and renting them out. And as a result, the neighborhoods don't thrive. So we need programs to turn people are paying that money in rent anyway. What do we need most? Down payment assistance.
We have got to make sure that down payment requirements stay low.
I would tell you, Nareb, Mark Austin, and myself, I have not slept in my bed consistently for 10 days in a row, but we were on a mission.
To positive. We need to change this from pessimistic to optimistic. It's time to change the narrative. We need to change this from I can't buy to I can buy, or at least I'm going to try.
I am convinced that what's wrong in our community is that we have a bad attitude.
Yes, sir.
And it is the attitude that creates the issues for our community.
About these very challenging and difficult issues, the National Urban League stands with your commitment to 2 million homeowners. Our work is that over the last decade, we've provided housing counseling services to more than 100,000 people. That in the last decade, we've supplied foreclosure counseling services to over 60,000 people. We're there in your community, 90 communities strong, serving over 2 million people with 175 counselors across the nation, preparing people to become homeowners.
In the first place, and this will be put in that context when we commemorate the Fair Housing Act. The root of all this, though, is qualified buyers today are having too much difficulty accessing credit, especially first-time home buyers and people from diverse backgrounds. We believe that creditworthiness must paint a larger picture of how that borrower will build and strengthen themselves, their family, and neighborhoods through home ownership.
Because it is necessary for them to understand that there is hope, there is opportunity. We just got to get them prepared.
Important because the consciousness or the expectations is low. And I don't know about you, but I've been turned down for a credit card. You know how you're pre-approved and you put your information in, it comes back, we're sorry. I'm like, why did you send me this pre-approval in the first place, right? So I got one the next day. This is a recent experience, by the way. So I got one the next day. I wasn't about to fill that out and get my heart broken. I felt bad all day. How did I get turned down? I thought I was doing all right.
He said, listen, I want you to know that economic development is in the Bible. Yes, economic development is in the Bible. Yes, sir. I said economic development is in the Bible. And not only is it in the Bible, but it's on almost every other page.
Have dreams and have visions, but in order for you to carry them out, there must be a plan, and it has to have continuity, and it's got to have a direction.
So income is our first level, class is our second level, independence is our third level, equity is our fourth level. I want us all to get to an equity position. The reality is that means paying off your house and transferring.
I think any organization, any individual, any family needs to take a fearless inventory of where you are today if you intend to move forward. You notice all stores and companies take inventories. You need to find out what you got and what you don't have, what you have that's old and out of date, so that you can refresh and regrow, so that you can move. Then home ownership is out of reach. It's not out of reach. They just moved it out of sight a little bit. It's around the corner. We need to, for industry-wise, to bring it back to the same block, and then community-wise, we need to get jobs and move us up so we can meet home ownership where it is. It's not out of reach. We just have to keep working and make people believe that they can reach out and grab it.
To build black home ownership and to build black wealth, we have to build black income. We have to build black employment.
It takes a village. And it's going to take a village to raise our family and to instill black wealth in our communities.
And I can always hear him say, look, you go to the jails and the prisons and find out how many people in jail own a home.
And it's not that you need to go to Harvard to understand it, and it's not all those things. You can go back to just those plain things that your grandmother said when you were young. If you see someone that's hungry, try to get them some food. And who cares if you call it food stamps? If you see someone that's homeless, try to get them a shelter. And who cares if they call it subsidized housing or first-time home ownership programs. And if you see someone that's sick, try to get them to a doctor. And who cares if they call it Obamacare?
There's a correlation between home ownership and responsibility.
To understand that the preparation of our people to become homeowners requires that they be better knowledgeable and better educated about the economy, about financial services.
Because if we don't do the work inside the house, the work can't be performed outside of the house. And so it's going to take people like, or organizations like Wells Fargo and other lenders, to make sure that we're doing the work inside the house by mirroring the communities that we seek to serve. We need to have more African Americans in the mortgage industry, in the real estate industry. We need to make sure that they understand that this can be a career choice.
To increase home ownership and the programs that you all are doing, which is so important because you all are doing it because government's not. And you all are pooling your resources and working with each other to accomplish a goal that government just doesn't have.
Wealth creation is the business of government. It's the business of the private sector. It's the business of every institution in this nation.
Our system functions on having people who are upper and the middle and the lower, but those who are lower economically must believe that they can reach the middle.
But the moral of the story is everybody has a role to play.
We must understand clearly and unambiguously the role that public policy plays in modern wealth creation.
You all ask God to enlarge your territory from a business standpoint. But if you think about the business that you're in, if God enlarges your territory, that means that you've put somebody in a home. You've enlarged somebody else's territory.
Ownership. Ownership is an inflection point. It cuts the shackle of oppression. It helps us become financially responsible. It helps us look further. It helps us think about legacy. It helps us understand by practice what equity is.
After accounting for the severe adverse impact of the housing crisis, home ownership continues to be a powerful tool for building wealth and forcing savings in our community.
In home ownership, which really began post-World War II, was enabled by the National Housing Act. It was enabled by the creation of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
While expanding home ownership through education and counseling. It is our vision at Fannie Mae to be America's most valued housing partner, and that is why we're partnering with Nareb on the 2 in 5 campaign.
If we're going to build wealth in our community, we've got to change attitudes. So folks understand that ultimately, if it's good for the community, then you ought to be involved in making it happen. And you got to have a change attitude. Now, if I were preaching in here, I would conclude by saying, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. For even though he was equal with God, gave up everything he had to be a servant on earth. I'm quitting.
I actually believe that what you do every day is important to the growth and survival of this nation.
That's why I talked about maintaining our neighborhoods so we can maintain our political voice, so we can elect people who have a voice that care, so that we can get federal intervention, so that we can make sure that we have economic opportunity. It all ties in.
You got to continue to work, and you got to continue to come to Washington and lobby us to do the right thing.
And he doesn't just want you to wait till you get to heaven. He wants to bring some heaven on earth.
I mean, I'm going to talk about it, even on Fox. I'll talk about it until my throat is sore and I can't talk anymore.
We're not dancing if we're not at a party. We're not laughing if nothing's funny. We're not scratching if nothing's itching. And we're never going to run because retreat is not in our blood.
I said then, not now, not ever, will we support any measure which repeals the affordable housing goals.
3 jobs, I want to remind you. And unless something happened last night, my dad is at work this morning.
Absolutely convinced that what has to happen in the context of our community, we've got to spend a whole lot of time changing attitudes.
Now let me tell you, it 10 enough to just come to a convention. You got to go home and you got to work. 10 enough for me to just come here and speak. I got to go to Washington and fight for you. 10 enough that the federal government would give $5 million. We got to work every single day. 10 enough.
When you do that, I get to feeling like it's Sunday morning.
So, NAREB, let's understand, we do have to have the advocacy.